Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm Gamesplaining Crusaders. They will be done. I've set the game up as a 2-player game. The 3 and 4-player game is on the other side of the board. The only differences, other than the placement of the spaces, is how many influence are set out at the beginning of the game. So we start the 2-player game with 140 influence, and the 3 and 4-player game is marked at the top of their boards. This game is really about the rondel. So what's happening is you're starting the game with 2 of these tokens on each of your spaces on the rondel. You will select one of them. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Each of them does something slightly different. I'll get into that in a second. But you'll choose one of them. You'll do that action with a power of 2. And then you'll present each of those tokens to the next spaces around the rondel. Now, each of you will have a knight that you're using, and that will tell you what extra action you have. So the ones that have been selected at the moment are this one, the Teutonic, which means you can go either direction around the rondel, and this one, the Montesa, which means that you get an extra knight to start with. And you also get to travel 1 extra, so there's a bit of a bonus for that player. That is your turn, in essence, is take the tokens, do the action for that many tokens, and then place them around the rondel. And you keep going until all of the influence tokens are gone. Everyone will make sure they've had the same number of turns. So this sword, I believe this is a expansion sword, but there's a marker for whoever goes first. That may not have been in the base game, which means that if they finish the game by taking the last of those influence tokens, the other player will get to go again. If this player finishes by taking the last influence tokens, the first player will not get to go again. So let's talk through the rondel really quickly. The first one we've got is travel. When you travel, however many of these markers you have tells you how many spaces you can move. So there's 2 on there. This player can move 2. Now notice he's got 2 knights. He could move each of them 1, or he could move one of them twice. If that's the position he's in when he goes to move, he could move out of this space because there's an enemy there, but it'll cost him 2 of the movement points to move out. So the 2 tokens would enable him to move to there, but would not enable him to move any further. Or he could move 1, 2 with the other knight. And that would then get placed further out. The Crusade spot is talking about the actual fighting. So what we've got is there's 3 different factions that you're fighting against. The guys in brown, which are the Saracens, they are always strength 6, which means you need to have a strength of 6 on the Crusade. So at the moment you've only got a strength of 3. If you have turned one of these over, that will give you an extra strength, so it would be a strength of 4. I'll talk about turning them over again in a second. So you wouldn't be able to actually take on any of the brown guys. If, however, you had a knight on one of the blue ones, which are the Prussians, you would be able to take them out. So the blue ones, their strength is marked by this. So it's a strength 3 to start the game, which means 3 tokens. They would then get distributed. That piece would then come off and be put next to your game board so you can keep track of how many you have. What also happens is this gets pushed down 1, and you would take 3 influence for beating those with the 3 strength. So you're taking influences according to where the actual marker is, and then pushing the marker down 1, as we discussed. The next thing around the rondel that you can deal with is the muster. Mustering is turning these into extra guys to help you out with the Crusade. So the first one, you work from left to right always. The first one has a strength of 3, so it's only going to take 3 tokens to do that. You flip that over. Because that had a little flag with a 1 on it, that's telling you how many influence points you take. So you get 1 extra influence point for doing that. And then obviously push those tokens around the board. The next one we've got is the influence space. Influence is literally taking influence for the number of tokens on there. There are some spots that allow you to take extra influence once they've been uncovered. But for the moment, there's 4 tokens coming off there. 2, 3, 4, and take 4 influence. The next one round is the travel spot. We've already spoken about travel, so I'll just move straight past that one. And the next one is a build. Building is talking about these buildings that you've got on your personal board. The cost of the building is in the little hex next to it on the right hand side, and what you get for doing the building is on the left hand side. So for each of the first level buildings you'll get 1 influence token, for each of the second level 2, 3 and then 4. Now if I were to build this particular building, it would cost me 3. I've definitely got 3 on the build spot. I've got more than 3, so that's fine. And I can build it in anywhere that I've got an empty spot. I can't build here, even though I own the Black Knight, the green one owns the Black Knight, because there's an enemy there. So I have to build here. Now, if on a future turn I had 6 in my Crusade space, so with that one as well, that makes 6, 5 and the 1 is 6. That means that I would be able to Crusade against that, which gets me this token, but also flips it over. And what I'm showing there is a bank. So what I get to do is put a bank up there. When I put the bank up there, I will get 2 influence, and that token stays with me for the majorities. I don't have to build the bank up there straight away. What I could take is 3 influence instead of building, but it makes sense to build. When doing a building, there's a bonus. There's a lot of tiles, or they're actually printed on the board. So that means that you need 1 of these less in order to build that particular building. Now, it doesn't mean you can only build those 2 buildings. You could build other types of buildings, but you won't get the bonus that comes on that. Sometimes they'll look more like this, which gives you the -1 bonus to build this type of building, or gives you influence for building this type of building. But as I say, anything can go anywhere. It's just if you look for those building spots that have bonuses, that could help you out throughout a game. You'll notice that the level 4 buildings are in red. What that's talking about is there's bonuses at the end of the game for completing entire lines. So if you put out all of the churches, for example, you'll get 6 points at the end of the game. If you put out all the castles, so you put out the first castle, when you put out the first castle, you also get to put out an extra knight with that, and same on the third one. Once you've built all the castles, what you're suddenly getting is 4 points for every set of enemy. So at the moment, this player has 2 out of the 3 enemies that he's defeated. If he were to move to there and defeat that enemy, he would suddenly have 3 out of the 3, so that would give him 1 set, and that would be worth 4 points. If he could get a second set, that's worth another 4 points at the end of the game. This one gives him 1 extra point for every one of these that's been flipped over, and every knight that is on the board. And then the bottom one gives him 4 extra victory points for each of the buildings on this end that's been collected. So if he's managed to actually clear his entire board, that's going to give him 16 points at the end of the game, on top of all the other stuff. Now you'll also notice that by taking those buildings off, we've uncovered some stuff. What that means is you've actually got this benefit whenever you're using tokens. So if I was to travel, I have 1 travel token, but I have a bonus there on my knights. I have another bonus here and another bonus here. So I've actually got 3 movement plus that 1, so 4 movement total for all of my knights on the board. Whenever I build, if I've uncovered these bottom 3, I have 3 bonuses. Whenever I do the mustering, so use those ones, I've got 3 here that will help with that. And whenever I do the crusading, however many of these have been turned over plus that one will give me extras. And also then influence, if I've managed to get them all off, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 showing. So there's a possibility of getting 5 extra influence on top of the tokens that you're using. Now, other than that, there's one other thing that you can do on your turn. If nothing actually works for you here, so say you're really wanting to crusade and nothing's showing crusade, what you can do is select one of the spots that has tokens on it, or one of the spots without tokens if you wish, and flip it over. This is your entire turn, but what's now happened is when you come to use this one, you can spend some of them for traveling and some of them for crusading, or you can spend them all to crusade or all to travel. It's up to you. As long as you're spending at least 1 on crusading, you'll get to use these bonuses. As long as you're using at least 1 to travel, you'll get to use these bonuses. You can't obviously just use bonuses to say, oh, I can travel. Now, the other benefit of doing that is the 4 tokens I've just taken off to switch that over can now go anywhere on the board. So that will enable me to build up to be able to do something else if that's going to help me out. I believe that is all of the rules. I hope that this has helped you get Crusaders that will be done to the table. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you'd like to be Gamesplayed, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.